Mutation and haplotypes. Although the 4 types of DNA are inherited in very different ways, they are all prone to mutation. Errors can be made during the DNA replication process. These errors are called mutations. Some mutations cause disease, but most are harmless. As DNA is copied and passed down through generations, it gradually accumulates more mutations. People who are more closely related have few differences in their DNA. People who are more distantly related have more differences. Mutations are the root of human variation. They are the source of differences among all the people of the world. Since 99.9% of the human genome is exactly the same across the whole human race, looking at the 1/1000th that tends to differ between individuals gives the most information. When analyzing DNA for genealogical purposes, there are specific regions that can be especially informative. Some of these regions, such as one particular section of mitochondrial DNA, are analyzed in detail. But most regions of DNA are surveyed by looking at representative sections, called markers, distributed across a large region of a chromosome. Each marker has specific variations called alleles. In most cases, knowing a person's allele value for a single DNA marker doesn't tell you very much. But because DNA tends to be inherited in large chunks, looking at allele values for several markers across a stretch of DNA can be very informative. The set of allele values for a set of markers across a stretch of DNA is called a haplotype. People with similar haplotypes for a certain region of DNA are more closely related than those with different haplotypes. Since scientists have been able to determine the average rate of mutation for each of the 4 types of DNA, the number of differences between your haplotype and that of another person can tell you approximately how many generations you have to go back in order to find a common ancestor. People whose haplotypes have all or most of the same marker alleles in common belong to the same haplogroup. In the case of mitochondrial and Y chromosome DNA, different haplogroups have been traced back to specific geographic regions around the world.